Okay, guys, let's get started. Thank you very much for joining us for our quarterly webinar. We always look forward to these, and as the pace of development keeps on ticking along, we always have heaps of fresh stuff to go through, and today is no exception. So thank you very much for joining us. I will just get my tech all ready here. Okay, so firstly, we've got some polls coming on up. So we've got two coming up here. We want to get a feel for the confidence out and amongst our farmers at the moment, and agribusiness as well. So the first poll question that should be popping up on your screen is just how confident are you compared to this time last year? And then the second poll question is, what's your new favourite FarmIQ feature for our existing FarmIQ users that are here today? Which reminds me, a big g'day to our non-FarmIQ users who are joining us to see what we're all about. Now, if you can't see those polls on your screen, if you look at the top right there, you'll see a wee polls tab and you'll find them there. Also up there, there's a chat. So hop in the chat there, say g'day, tell us where you're from, if you're farming, and just how the farming conditions have been in your area. It's been a bit of a mixed bag around the country. Most are wet, but things starting to dry up in some areas. And there's also up there a Q&A section as well. So throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, just pop them in there or in the chat, and we'll have people answering them throughout, and we'll also have a section right at the end to answer your questions. So moving on. So here's a brief agenda. So we are going to have some introductions of who's all speaking today. Then we will go through the new stock features, the new feed features, then everything else that we've done over the past few months. And then we'll go through our product roadmap, what we've got lined up for the next 3 to 6 months, and we'll wrap it up answering your questions. So firstly, who are we? So yours truly, I'm Russell Mackay. I'm from Southland. Got a sheep and beef farm down here. I've been with FarmIQ for just coming up on over 4 years now, and I am head of sales and marketing, and I take care of the customer service team as well. I've done a bit of all bobs, from farming, fencing, shepherding, rural banking, dog sledding. So I've had a wider range of things, but I just love farming and farm technology. Next up, we have Rebecca. Rebecca, do you want to introduce yourself to the folks?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Rebecca Kelsall. So I started with FarmIQ at the start of last year. So I'm one half of the inbound sales and onboarding specialist team alongside Libby. So I predominantly look after the South Island farms, getting you onboarded onto FarmIQ and assisting you with your first year. So I'm originally from England and moved over to New Zealand in 2019. I graduated from Harper Adams University with a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness degree with honours, and have since gained experience in many other roles, from agribusiness consultancy, genetics, on-farm dairy experience, and have an extensive technical sales background. So yeah, over to Libby.
Cracker, thank you very much, Rebecca. And Libby, on to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Libby, as Rebecca said, one of FarmIQ's inbound sales and onboarding specialists, and I predominantly look after our North Island farmers. I have a background of sheep and beef farming, and I'm originally from Canterbury. However, I am now in the beautiful Wairarapa, living on a sheep and beef hill property here with my partner. I also have a bit of experience in dairy from work during my uni holidays and as a vet tech at a dairy clinic down in Ashburton, as well as the odd season calf rearing. And I joined FarmIQ nearly 4.5 years ago, initially in the support team, and then moved into the sales and onboarding space.
Sweet ass. Thank you, Libby. And Libby, you're going to keep carrying the flag here. You're going to tell us about Flexi-stock, what it is, the value, and how to use it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Russ. So Flexi-stock is a new feature for the mobile and web applications. It is a very simple way to track your mobs, as the tallies aren't tied to a stock rec. we have essentially added more features to what we call describe stock, which is a stock recording method on FarmIQ, mostly used on the Essentials pack. So with Flexi-stock, you can create a stock list and update mob tallies by the traditional way of recording events in FarmIQ, such as your sales or purchases. Or now you can just simply update or override the mob tallies without recording those specific stock adding or removing events. This makes it a lot simpler for people who just want to see the current, almost up-to-date stock tally on the farm. The only limitation of that is that you can't go back in time and see your historic stock tallies unless you make a record of them. So for mobs on Flexi-stock, recording events on the mobile app is super easy. You can just put these mobs in paddocks and record events against them from where they are on the map, just like with our stock rec method, or you can record events from the stock tab on the app there. On the web, you can record your stock shifts from the map, you can update tallies from the stock list, and all other stock events can be recorded from the stock tab. The stock list is a really handy screen as it is a good place to view and track your last treatment records, the paddocks the stock are in, and see those current mob tallies. Oh yeah, so when recording your animal health treatment events against mobs, you will see the withholding period on the mob from the map, just like you do on that stock rec method. And it works really well with the new updates we've made on the withholding period feature. So now if you record an animal health treatment event to animals in one paddock, but say they are part of a mob that is spread over multiple paddocks, you will only see that withholding period symbol on animals in that paddock that you've treated, not the animals in the other paddocks. So because there is no stock rec when you use the Flexi-stock method, you can choose the time of year your stock classes actually age up. So each new stock class added into FarmIQ can have a different age update. So this is really handy for the likes of your autumn versus spring calves, and it differs from the traditional stock rec method where you can only have one aging date for all stock on FarmIQ. So Flexi-stock is going to be the most beneficial for farmers on our Essentials pack, as previously there was no way to track mobs in paddocks and see their tallies on this pack. So it's designed for flexible tracking against mobs. However, you can continue using your favourite stock class list if you don't actually want to use mobs on the Essentials pack. So no worries there. And you can also use the Flexi-stock recording method on the Performance Plus or Pro packs if you want. However, if you want to keep a stock rec in it, it might actually be necessary to have that tool if you're currently integrated with the likes of Figured or FarmX. You probably will just want to stick with that current stock rec method there.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Libby. Yeah, there's a bit to it, the differences between Flexi-stock and our traditional way of keeping your stock numbers up to date. So if you have any questions at all, just pop along to our website, and we'll also send out our help and the webinar follow-up and the email that goes out in the coming days, because there are some important differences between the two. Just as a side note, this Flexi-stock, it was partly created so we can set ourselves up for an integration with Minder in the future, because this fits in with how their stock recording works. Okay, Libby, speaking of stock, you're going to talk to the updated stock list as well.
Yeah. So the stock list screen on the mobile app has now been refreshed with a new look and new features added in there. So you can search for mob names by clicking the search icon, and you can filter to see your mobs for one stock type by clicking, say, the cattle icon, for example, and you can see it'll show you all of your cattle mobs. That stock type icon also tells you the total stock tally there now too. So make sure you have a look at that if it interests you. The stock list or stock screen will show slightly differently depending on your FarmIQ pack. So with Essentials, if you have mobs, you can hide the mobs that have 0 tally in them. This is really valuable if you don't want to see a heap of mob names come up in that list that have no stock in them. And you can go in and record your activities from the mobs or favorites screen here too. You can now click into a mob from the stock list screen and see more details about that mob. You can see the mob's history, which I will go into more detail on shortly. And you can access the mob's feed demand from here. So this is another feature that Rebecca will go over. And if you are on Flexi-stock, this is where you can update your mob tallies from this screen. You can still record any add stock activities from the stock list here too by clicking on that plus activities button. And if you do have a pack that allows for the upload of EID tag files into your FarmIQ tag library, either they've been automatically loaded through the Gallagher or Tapari integrations, or you've loaded the tag files in yourself, you can record events with those tag files from here. And those events include your sales, send grazing animals, and animal health treatments and deaths.
Cool, thank you for that, Libby. Now is probably a good time, you've already mentioned Gallagher and Tapari. Now is a good time to talk about data marts or true tiers. So we have been working pretty hard to get the integration up and running with data marts. So they've released their new Data Marts Pro app within the last couple of weeks, which was a long time coming. It's been a long process for them to get that out the door. And we have been, we've been told that once that's out, we'll be able to integrate with it. We've had a crack with it with a couple of testing farms, and there's been some errors, there's been some bugs involved with it. So yeah, we've gone back to the Data Marts team to show them what's not working and say, hey, can you please tidy this up so we can release it to our farmers. So we appreciate everyone's patience that are Data Marts True Tiers farmers. Just know that once it's released, it will be available to you the day that it is ready to go. And it's not just FarmIQ asking for this. This is everybody that has the potential to integrate with True Test. Everyone's in the same boat. Okay, Libby, you're going to finish up by talking about the mob history on the new app.
Yeah. So this came about because the team were looking for a way to add that extra value to the mobile app, and that value has definitely been delivered with bringing the most used animal report to the app, which is the mob history report. And to me, it's really exciting. It means you can now access the mob history on your mobile app, not just the last treatment or the last recorded weight, but it shows you the last 3 years of events recorded against the mob. So in the mob history report, you can see collated information about each mob, a summary, including a mob tally graph. You can see all of the activities, and you can also drill down and view specific groups of records, such as just your animal health treatments or just your weights for that specific mob. You can view this out on the farm to help with any decision making, but it does only work if you are online. So if you're in Wi-Fi or have decent cell data. And the reason being is we don't store your animal history data on your phone, and there can be quite a lot of information in the mob history report. So really it's just to save up on taking up space on your phone, and so that the app does have to load it each time. And it also makes the app a bit quicker. So now you can find the mob history report on the app from the stock or stock list tab, depending on your pack, and then by clicking into the mob. If you want to look at the mob history of a mob that doesn't currently have any stock in it, you can also access this report from the report center on the app. So click the More Tools tab, Report Center, and then you can select a mob name and view the history in the mob history report here. So this feature is available on the mobile app for all the packs that support mobs. So if you're using Flexi-stock or you have a stock rec, it's on Essentials, Performance Plus, or Pro. So make sure you go and have a look at it.
Awesome, thank you, Libby. This is something that's been asked for a long time. We're going back to the old FarmIQ classic days. Previously you could only get this information on the desktop, but when you're in the paddock and you see your lambs and they're looking a bit more average than what you thought they would, you kind of want to pull the phone out and go, when did I last drench them? What did they weigh 2 weeks ago? So you can kind of do some problem solving on the spot. So having that information in hand out on the farm, it's been a long time coming, but it's awesome to have it here. Okay, now moving on, Rebecca's going to take the mic and we're going to talk about some new feed features. So starting up, we've got feed demand, Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. So firstly, we've got our new feed demand feature. So you can now calculate your feed demand at your fingertips in the mobile app. So FarmIQ has powered FeedSmart since its inception, and now you can choose to apply FeedSmart calculations in the mobile app. So unlike with the original FeedSmart program, when you use the feed demand calculator in FarmIQ, it remembers the attributes of your animals. So you won't need to re-enter the key information each time. So this feature takes into account gestation, birth records, growth expectations, and more to give you a recommended feed breakdown. It also consists of two parts, the feed demand and number of days a paddock will last. So to access this feature, you can click onto a mob on the map, click Calculate Feed Demand, enter the required information, and click Calculate Demand. It will then allow you to move on to the next step to calculate allocation days by entering the information required. This is available in the Essentials, Performance Plus, and Pro packs.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, so you can see how this is going to be used for future grazing and pasture management in FarmIQ as well. So as Rebecca was saying, we built FeedSmart for beef and lamb a long time ago. And just last year, they retested it to make sure it was still accurate, and it is. But yeah, this is going to help tie in future plans of stock rotations, break feeding, open gate, set stocking, all the works. So this is having this in the background is going to set us up to have a really powerful set of grazing tools. Rebecca, next up, we've got feed as a product, and it's looking a bit different to what we had for feed inventory in the past, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Russ. So the next feature I'm speaking about is that we've now added feed as a product in the inventory. So this allows you to feed our animals with supplementary feed at your fingertips whilst you're out on the farm. So you can record supplementary feed on farm in the inventory, farm grown or bought in, and you can then select a storage location and feed out of a specific location, such as a grain silo. You can add feed in the inventory via the More Tools app, clicking on Feed Inventory, adding the product, and then filling out the boxes required. So there are a couple of ways that you can create a feed event. So you can either create an event from the inventory screen to record what you have fed out without specifying animals, or you can click on a mob, add activity, and select supplementary feeding. You can also select a single day feed, or if you know that you'll be feeding out over a period of time, you can then select a start and an end date for the feed outs. You can also select a feed product from your feed inventory, which will automatically deplete as you feed out. This feature is only available on the Performance Plus and Pro packs. Thanks, Russ.
Awesome. Yeah, so this looks a bit different to what we've had for feed in the inventory in the past. We've always just treated feed like any other inventory for animal health treatments, chemical treatments, you name it. But in practical, it's actually quite different how it happens in the real world. So we wanted to have a way to do it the way you've always done it, recording it against a certain paddock or mob, if you wish. But a lot of farmers just want to keep an up-to-date inventory, and they just want to say, I took out this amount of bales and I don't care recording who it went to. This helps with future and current integrations as well for the likes of Fonterra Dairy Diary work. So that'll make keeping that up to date a lot easier. Awesome. Now we're going to talk about some other new features that we've been working on. Firstly, Rebecca, broadcasting your location. We've done a few tweaks here.
Yeah, so broadcast your location is one of our newest features on FarmIQ in the last few months. So I'm sure a lot of you will have already used this, but we've made it even better. So rather than only being able to broadcast the location you're currently at, you can now broadcast any location on the map. So the broadcasts are also no longer set to disappear after a set amount of time, and you can choose when you keep the broadcast on until. So for example, I may want to ask a farm staff member to meet me at a specific location on the map. So I would tap the broadcast location button at the top right of the farm map, select which broadcast type fits best to my situation, and then I can enter a message if I want to explain why I want them to meet me there, or I can just add in more detail. So whoever I've selected to broadcast the location to, they'll get a notification to alert them, which is a good reminder to ensure that you have your notifications for FarmIQ turned on. So check this by clicking More Tools on the bottom right of your phone app, tap the bell on the top right, click the Settings button on the top right, and check the push notifications is turned on. And then you can also check your phone notification settings to check that notifications are turned on at that level too. Thanks, Russ.
Cool, thank you, Rebecca. Now, one thing to add is that this ties in with tasks as well. So with farmers, you can use a location for a task, as you know, but you haven't previously been able to use your location, where I'm standing, to say, I want the task associated to where I am right now. So we've added that functionality in here under broadcast your location. So let's say you find a water leak and you're standing on the spot where it is. You can use this functionality, broadcast the location, and then once it pops up on the map, you can tick on that icon and say, set this as a task. And so that's one way to do it. Now, we have heard farmers say that they wish to do that process just from within tasks itself. So we've taken that on board. I've heard it from about 5 separate farmers over the past few field days and A&P shows. So we're working with the developers to see if we can bring that functionality, not just through broadcast your location, but just from that tabs field along the bottom of the screen. Okay, now I am going to talk about labels. So we have created the ability to create any label you wish on the app, not just being able to do it on the computer, on the web version. So it's like adding a custom tag, so you can add any extra context to a land, animal, or any other event. So it's completely up to the farmer and completely relatable to you. So, for example, if you wanted to just record things to do with your stud animals, you can create a stud label, and then just select that for anything you've been doing with your studs. And then that means that later on, you can go through and filter and dive down into detail a lot easier, finding the relevant information. So set up a new label and search from the mobile and the web apps as possible in both mobile and web. To maintain these labels, you do that on the web for any editing, merging, or deleting of labels. But as things progress, we're hoping to add the editing of labels onto the mobile app as well. So how to do this, when you're recording an activity, you click on the Add Labels button, you just start typing, and you can click Add a New Label, or else it'll have your existing labels already there. One note to mention is this isn't on tasks yet. So under tasks, it still has the categories. I know that's a little bit confusing, but in the future, we're going to change these to labels. Okay, and then next up, something we've been working on, you may have seen it, is Ask Scout. So this is an in-app support using AI to help you answer your questions and queries. Now, along with their awesome custom service team on the 0800 number, we've got very good online help. It's very detailed, but sometimes typing in the keyword into the online help, you still get buried in a bit of information that's not all that relevant to you. So we've taken all of that online help, put it into this AI chatbot called Scout. So you can ask a question and then it will give you an answer specific to your question. It's really helpful. I've used it quite a bit actually. So I've been calling our 0800 FarmIQ number a lot less. So where it is on the website. It's just on the bottom right of the screen. And you just click that and type away. And then on the mobile, you click under more, scroll down. I think it's about third from the bottom there. So yeah, it's a fantastic tool. We're going to keep testing this tool over the next few months. If you have any questions, suggestions for it, let us know. Under testing, we already found a few limitations that we've addressed, but as it gets used more, the model will get smarter. So we need your input to make it better. If anybody's wondering why it's called Scout, that's the name of one of my hunterways. You might have seen them in some of our marketing, and the developers just thought they'd name this thing Scout, and who am I to disagree with them? Just another mention to make is that some of the early feedback we had in their testing stage on the web side of this functionality is that it was covering an annoying part of the map or where the stock tallies are. So coming up potentially tomorrow is the ability to push an X just to get rid of it if you want to see that part of the web version of FarmIQ. Alrighty, so that's everything that's happened in the past few months. It's a bit, so now it's time to talk about what's coming up next. And again, if you have any questions, use that chat, use that Q&A, and we'll get to them at the end of this webinar. But this is what's coming up. This is the mobile roadmap. So what we have in progress, health and safety and team meetings. So it's going to be renamed as a toolbox meeting. So you're going to be able to do that on the app, which is fantastic because in reality, these meetings, they're not happening in the office at the farmhouse or the homestead. They're happening around the back of the side-by-side or the truck or in the wool shed or in the milking shed. Initially, this is just going to be a manual entry, like typing it. But we are also working on using some of that voice AI. So you're going to be able to just talk to it, and using AI, it will transcribe what you're saying, but also put things in its appropriate field as well. But initially, for the first release, it's most likely going to be just the manual text. It's going to look a bit different for both mobile and roadmap. We've got rid of some of the fields that just isn't quite necessary. It was just a few too many clicks. And also just the, what WorkSafe requires changed over time as well. Paddock history is going to be available on the mobile. It's got probably the same as animal history, mob history. It's probably going to be when you're in service or in Wi-Fi, but being able to select on paddocks and see all your paddock history, that's going to be invaluable. Paddock and feature drawing, so you're going to be able to do this on the mobile as well, which is very handy. When you put in new water lines or drainage, being able to draw that as you're in the paddock from the mobile. We are well aware that farmers would love to use their own location to put in, add a feature. So, envisioning, put an overflow in just before you bury it with the digger, take your phone across it, and then add that as a layer. We're well aware of that request, and we're going to be working on that in the future as well. Pasture wedge improvements. So what this mainly entails is being able to shut off paddocks. So say you shut off a paddock for deferred grazing, or if you're putting a paddock into let a fallow, or shutting up for baleage or silage, being able to select that option so that it keeps your pasture wedge more accurate and up to date. And that'll show in the pasture wedge as well, which paddocks have been shut up and removed from your grazing rotation. Data marts I've already spoken to, nothing else to add there. And GenQuip, the GenQuip EC20 rising plate meter. It's a GPS plate meter. I've been testing it on my farm with they've had just a test version of their new app out, and they've just released their commercial app. So we're going to be, it does work. We just need to test it again now that it's fully available. and make sure our processes are right to help our farmers get that going, like our online help, etc. So that's what's in progress as we speak today. Some of these things might even be released tomorrow. We're planning on a release on tomorrow. Future plans, so what's happening in the months to come on the mobile, harvesting a crop, doing that on the app. So that'd be very handy, not having to do it as you go home for lunch or at the end of the day. Staff and contractors, we want to add some of that functionality into the app, albeit contractors being able to tell them where to go on the farm, letting them see the map a lot easier, not just through the Safe Visit app, adding, removing staff, and seeing some staff information. This will be something that you can change for depending on different staff. But like farm managers could have access to see all staff numbers, emergency contacts, those sort of things that have historically only been available on the web. A small thing, but could be quite handy, is we're going to be adding a dark mode to the app. Some people like to have a dark back screen. They find it easier on the eyes, and it also means that it drains the battery less. Now we're getting stuck into some of the longer term, the bigger picture thinking, the grazing planning side of FarmIQ. So we're talking break fencing, set stocking, open gates, stock rotations. So you can see what we've been doing in the past 6 months. We've been building into this. With the new Flexi-stock, the new feed inventory, shutting up paddocks, the location tools, being able to use your location, draw on the map. You can see how all these things will help out for, drawing in a break area, opening gates for set stocking, etc. So that you have to build these smaller pieces of functionality first in order to get these big ticket items later on. And so, there's the reasoning for that. Some other things happening is we're going to bring in some rainfall graphs into the app, and we're also going to be have the ability to do activities from the stock list. Why? With FarmIQ Classic, the old app, it was actually pretty beneficial to record against either the animals in the paddock or the mob. Some of you who were on the old app might remember you could select either button. So currently with the FarmIQ app, if you've got mobs in a paddock, it can be a bit difficult if you got a mob, let's say mixed age ewes, spread across 7 paddocks, and you just want to record, I gave all of these ewes a capsule. So we want to change it up so you can have mob recording and just animals in the paddock recording. And as we move on, we're going to be putting in more AI-powered features as we go. I've got some of this in testing on my FarmIQ at the moment. So being able to talk to the phone to assign a task, doing an AI voice recorded diary note, and also a voice AI recorded land note. So that's where we see FarmIQ going, just being able to talk to the app, and then that's where the recording's done. And now it's not going to be a case of one day you're going to be able to do all your FarmIQ recording just talking to the phone, but over time, that's where we're going, which is really exciting. FarmIQ has already been really powerful for information out, but at times has been cumbersome for the information in, but we're changing that. And then the web roadmap. Some of these things are already covered in the mobile side. The toolbox meetings, pasture wedge, data mars, GenQuip, that's both mobile and web. But for the future plans, we're just going to give it a bit of a facelift in terms of doing some basic recording, mainly on the animal side of things, the stock side of things. So reducing a few clicks, just making it more of a better visual experience. Because the mobile app is now far exceeded the web for that. We already have the FarmIQ FarmX integration. There's some bugs in that, so we're going to be working on that to make that better, to give both our FarmIQ and FarmX users who have both products, give them more value. And a mind integration. We've done a few changes, mainly Flexi-stock. We have an agreement with them to set up some form of an integration. Now, integration is a bit of a buzzword. What does that actually mean? There's more devil in the detail, but just know that we have an agreement with Minded that both of us are going to give it a good crack. And the last future plans that are imminent is contractors, just having better contractor management within the web. And I've just added there as well, these are who we're currently having discussions with. And now we don't have any promises. Integrations can be difficult for either political or actual product, or is it financially viable? But we're talking to Precision, Trimble, AFCO, and AIMA. Those are the discussions that are happening at the moment. But again, no promises, but farmers always ask who we're talking to. Okay, there we go. That's everything. Now we've got some time for questions and answers. Have we got any questions that have come through here, team? Let's have a look. I'll have a look in the chat here. Okay, so Michael said, yeah, things are going well in the Waikato. That's awesome. Rick in Otago, plenty of supplementary feed made. Awesome, great to hear. I'll go to the Q&A here. How do you enter more than one product in a chemical application on the app? From Robert. Now, I don't think we can at the moment. Is that correct, Libby?
Yeah, you can only add one product on the app currently, unlike on the web where you can add multiple products. So that'll be an enhancement if it's not already in the system for the devs to look at, and hopefully we can get that in there in the mobile app for you guys to do. It's the same with your animal health treatments as well. We understand that you want to be doing maybe more than one at once, so it would be a lot better to be able to do them at the same time rather than record two events for the same thing essentially.
Yeah, it is an enhancement that has been requested quite a bit, so yeah, hopefully it is something that can happen in the near future.
It's the same as multiple health treatments on the app as well. That's something that's been asked for, especially when you've got the conveyor in or tailing and you're just doing multiple things at the one time. So that's in the same boat as well. Okay. Tina's been plugging away at some questions in here. Thank you very much, Tina. So Stephen asks, is it possible to label add where taps or switches are, etc.? And yes, you do that in FarmIQ by mapping them as a feature on the farm map. You can display and hide these features depending on what you want to see on the map. And as I said, it's coming up in the roadmap, being able to do this on the mobile app. Michael asks, where does the NGME or the energy figure come from for the feed budget? And Aaron, one of our developers, has chipped in there. Thank you, Aaron. For the feed demand, it is a calculation based on the stock class, growth, maintenance, etc. It takes in information. I'm going off piste here. It takes in information as well in terms of when lactation, when they're scanning, etc. We have the default ME for the pasture at 10 ME, but this can be altered and changed based on the season. Adjusting the pasture quality or the supplementary feed quality will also adjust the ME figure it calculates. If the mob you select contains different animal types, you can see how it is coming to the calculation on the mobile by clicking on the show detailed results. Georgia said, hoping to find out how to move stock between mobs, e.g. separating out MS lambs into ewe lambs, cull ewe lambs, CO lambs, hoping you cover this. Okay, and Tina's covered her through how to do the draft activity. And you can also do this, you can draft by trait as well. Okay, have we got any other questions there?
I was typing one for Simon, and I'll finish that out eventually, but it's probably quicker to answer it around the minder and what events are available. So currently, from Minder for their APIs, they can supply stock tally data, and they can supply current on-farm animal information. Unfortunately, it won't be an all-event scenario, which is sort of why we were having to look at a Flexi-stock option. But that doesn't mean that there's not value in it for the farmers that are using EIDs, for example, because we can still look at getting and updating tag information, potentially getting other data like current mating data, etc., from Minder. So, yeah, we'll be looking at probably a twofold integration where we can look for those farmers that it makes sense just to get animal tallies on farm, and then look at what we can do to make everything else easier for the farmers who are wanting to do individual animals such as the mating, etc. So, yeah, we're looking at everything we can do, but yeah, full stock rec isn't something that Minder can provide just yet.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron. And Stephen has asked, there's a question that's just come in. How do I remove paddocks from my map without having to redraw the whole map? Oh, I'm going to go off piece. It's always dangerous where the head of sales and marketing tries giving customer service advice, but you do this on the web. Down at the bottom, you can see, I believe it's called Edit Map. You click on that, and then on the left-hand side, you should see the option to remove paddocks. So you select the paddocks that you want to remove, and then click Remove Paddocks.
I probably wouldn't remove a paddock if it's in the middle of your map, though, Stephen. So the best thing to do is to merge two paddocks together if you're wanting to remove that paddock because it's not there. But if it's a paddock that doesn't belong to you, then by all means you can remove it. But it will just create a hole in your map. So when removing paddocks, make sure that you're not wanting to add them in because you can't without our help.
Thank goodness you're here, Rebecca. Listen to Rebecca, Stephen, not me.
But yeah, contact the support team if you need any help with that as well.
Okay, guys, that was the last question. So thank you very much. Those are great questions. Just to close up, I'm going to talk about the polls here. So I'm opening up the results here. What is your new favorite FarmIQ feature? 13% said broadcast in your location. An overwhelming 53% mob history. I'm not surprised about that. It's been asked for a long time. Nothing for Flexi-stock or labels. Those are very new features. I can see that increasing as time goes on. 20% for feed as a product, and then 13% for the feed demand. Again, those are pretty new features, but yeah, I thought mob history would be the top one. I just maybe didn't expect it to be by that much, but that's awesome. Thank you for your feedback. And then the second poll, do you feel more or less optimistic about farming now than what you did this time last year? We've had one person say less. 43% said more, and 50% said about the same, which is really interesting. I wonder what this result would have been, let's say 3 weeks ago, before things started going crazy in the Middle East. But you know, prices are pretty high, especially in the red meat sector. Dairy is, you know, pretty good. Was expecting an $11 payout. It's south of that at the moment, but it's okay. But yeah, honestly, I thought it might have been a little bit more optimistic about that. So that's good feedback for us to have. Very interesting. Okay, well, that's the end of the webinar. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for all of your input. Thank you to Rebecca and Libby, and then Tina and Aaron in the background. This recording will go out to everybody who registered, and there'll be in the email, there'll also be some how-to stuff as well for some things that we've covered. So again, thank you very much for your support for FarmIQ. Thank you for tuning in today, and we will see you in 3 months' time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.